Sir David Attenborough, he called trophy hunting incomprehensible and about humanity and the terrible state of the human psyche, not about conservation.
The early hunters in the empire, as it then was, were the first conservationists, and they founded the first conservation movements long before the World Wildlife Fund.
That was Eduardo Goncalves from the campaign to ban trophy hunting, trying to adopt Sir David Attenborough as a backer for his campaign in front of an influential committee of MPs. As you can see from Sir David's quote afterwards, not everything Eduardo says is entirely founded in fact. On the 2nd of November 2021, the EFRA committee asked 3 prominent antis to help it with its investigation into trophy hunting. We have asked Jens-Ulrik Høgh from the Nordic Safari Club to call out their more extreme statements.
We know actually from hunting industry records that the tusks of elephants are getting smaller. And in fact, many more elephants now have no tusks whatsoever. If we look, for example, at the Addo National Park in South Africa, 98% of the adult females there have no tusks. Whereas if you look at the Kruger National Park, where there's no trophy hunting, just 3%.
An interesting fact about Addo Elephant Park is that hunting ceased in 1931. That's 90 years ago. That's several elephant generations ago. And the elephants are, as elephants are, still breeding. So this problem with tuskless elephants has actually been increasing for quite a few elephant generations without any trophy hunting at all. And indeed, if you go to other species, the hunting community has been looking into trophy quality, and for most of the species hunted, the strength of the trophies, the length of the horns, the everything is actually increasing in most cases. And I'm not saying that is because of hunting, but I'm saying that is a fact. And it is definitely not a proven fact that hunting is depleting the gene pool in any problematic way whatsoever.
Lord Zach Goldsmith is keen to ban trophy imports because he doesn't like hunting. In the light of that, the EFRA committee is trying to find out whether hunting tourism is the best way to address biodiversity loss and support conservation. So they've called up these antis. The problem for these antis is that hunting is good for conservation, and they're going to have to bend the truth in order to make their case. Happily, we have Jens to help answer their worst untruths.
There are many alternative, much more effective ways of funding conservation and local community development through responsible payments for ecosystem services, debt for nature schemes, linking development aid to wildlife protection and so on. Ecotourism can of course play a big part where it's feasible and can be responsibly managed, as can the use of, for example, carbon markets to realise the value of the ecological contribution of animals such as elephants when they're allowed to live out their lives and carry out their business in their natural habitats.
If there was such a lot of alternatives that actually worked better than hunting tourism, why is it that hunting tourism is in fact funding way more natural habitat than other types of ecotourism like photographic tourism? Why haven't they changed?
Between 2001 and 2015, 80,000 elephants were shot by trophy hunters. Now, the current estimated population of elephants is 400,000. So a fifth of the elephant population has been shot by trophy hunters.
What Eduardo fails to mention is that the elephant population in southern Africa, which is the only place where elephants are currently hunted through hunting tourism, the elephant population of southern Africa is rising. It's actually rising to the point where it's becoming problematic to manage the population, and different nations are talking about culling thousands and thousands of elephants because they have too many elephants now. So it seems that Goncalves misses a very basic biological concept called breeding. Elephants breed. They thrive. They have young ones all the time. And since the elephant population in southern Africa, where they are hunted, have not decreased over the last 2 or 3 decades, obviously the thousands of elephants shot by recreational hunters, hunting tourists, trophy hunters, call them what you want, have not made a negative impact on the population, and they have certainly not shot 20% of the population, and they have certainly not caused a decline in the southern African elephant population, and that is a fact.
And it's interesting to look at the case study of Kenya, where they banned trophy hunting in 1977. So whereas lion populations have been falling, rhino populations have been falling, elephant populations have been falling throughout the rest of Africa, in recent years lion populations have gone up in 25%.
Thank you.
The fact of the matter is, and this is easily documented, is that Kenya actually lost 70 to 80% of all large mammals in that country that existed before the hunting ban and until now. The hunting ban has proven to be a disaster for Kenya, and as the Kenyan population declined during the hunting ban, the southern African populations exploded during the time where they embraced hunting tourism as a way to incentivize nature conservation, and that is another fact.
There's clearly a lot of money in this industry. What is the empirical evidence to demonstrate how much of that money rests and is retained in local communities where this trade is carried out? Eduardo first, please.
Yeah, sure. Well, we actually interviewed a number of community leaders, members of parliament, local councillors, village headmen and so on in African countries to find out what they said. And they told us things such as, we are not getting any benefits from trophy hunting, although we see many animals being killed. The money does not reach the people. We have remained poor. Trophy hunting is not serving the stated purpose of uplifting the communities.
Well, obviously, you haven't been to, for instance, Namibia, where lots of areas are entirely run by local communities, getting 100% of the revenue. Many areas in Zimbabwe are placing a large portion of the money coming in with local communities working on the campfire project, and etc., etc.
A study that was conducted by economists at large in their landmark report a short number of years ago that looked at a number of African countries, estimated that it could be as little as 3%. So when you take that into account, the actual amount of money that's available from trophy hunting to provide funding for local communities and wildlife conservation is very small indeed.
Mark Jones, Born Free Foundation, is once again pulling out an old study made by Economists Without Borders or something like that a couple of years ago, where they, for one particular area in Tanzania, if I recall it right, for one particular year, found that only 3% of the revenue from hunting tourism went back into the local community. And they sort of went on to conclude that because this happened in this place this year, the number is good for all of Africa for an indefinite amount of time, which is obviously not the case. There's several examples of completely different practices. And even in Tanzania, they changed their practice a lot after this study. But just to name one, in Namibia, a lot of hunting areas are community run. And basically, the entire revenue from hunting tourism goes back into the rural community that is running the operation.
In your campaign and in terms of this bill, have you given much thought to what it would mean for hunting in the UK?
Not because largely it's a non-issue to all intents and purposes. I mean, I was looking actually at the data of trophy exports from Britain since 2019, when the government first announced the proposition in the Queen's speech and then in the election manifesto. So since 2019, there's just one trophy on the CITES trade database that's been exported from Britain since then. And it was of a tiger skin that was pre-CITES. In other words, it was shot long before CITES came into force.
Eduardo is asked whether it's a good idea to ban hunting trophy export out of the UK. And he says no, because it's such a minuscule problem. There's hardly any trophies leaving the UK, he says. And that is simply not true. The UK has a big hunting tourism industry. There's a lot of red deer being shot by visiting international hunters in Scotland, and roe deer, fallow deer, sika deer, muntjacs and Chinese water deer. And all these animals are being exported out of the UK. Most of these animals are not regulated by CITES, but then on the other hand, Goncalves and his campaign to ban trophy hunting explicitly says that they do not want to limit themselves to the species regulated by CITES. They want a ban. So either Goncalves is unaware that the UK actually uses hunting tourism as an important tool in game management, or he is deliberately being untruthful about it just to appease the MPs that are asking him here.
We're not talking about a large-scale industry in the UK. Certainly, for example, if you look at Southern Africa or indeed North America, the numbers there are absolutely huge, and that's why people are going to those countries and bringing trophies back. There's very, 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 very few people are coming to Britain to shoot animals for sport and for trophies to take back home to America or to Germany.
We are literally talking tens of thousands of hunting trophies being exported from the UK every year.
John Alexander Hunter, he died in the 1960s, he single-handedly shot 600 lions and 1,500 rhinos. Now today the total population of rhinos in Africa is just 1,300. So one man, one individual, has a very significant role to play.
Goncalves tells us that John Alexander Hunter, a British big game hunter who died back in 1963, personally hunted about 1,500 rhinos in his lifetime, and that might very well be true. Goncalves also tells us that this had a significant impact on today's rhino numbers, because he claims there's only 1,300 animals left. Now, this is definitely not true. In fact, there is more than 18,000 white rhinos, and the population is doing quite well, actually in spite of an international poaching crisis. And on top of that, there is about 5,500 black rhinos, and that population is doing even better than the white rhino population when it comes to yearly growth. Both these populations are managed and has been managed for decades with hunting tourism. So this is really a success story for trophy hunting and nature conservation, and it is certainly not true that the population should be down to around 1,300 animals as Goncalves claimed. In fact, the population is about 15 times as high as the number he's giving to these members of parliament. And that's a fact.
These are charities, or in the case of the campaign to ban trophy hunting, they're supported by charities, and charities have to stick to their stated aims, which are on the Charities Commission website. So, for example, in the case of the Born Free Foundation, it's out for animal welfare, wildlife conservation and related education. And the Humane Society International UK, that was also at the EFRA committee hearing, it's out for animal welfare services, grants to animal welfare charities and research and education into animal welfare. Certainly not banning the conservation work the hunting tourism does, and certainly not lying to our Parliament.